Oh, by the way, read both of you. Pick up the book, Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh yeah, Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki, yeah.
Yeah.
It will completely change your perspective on how you look at everything.
I read that back in 2005. I haven't read it in a long time. I should probably read it again. So
yeah. Although I say that, but I don't actually read anything anymore. I buy the audiobook every time.
Right. Yeah. Which is the same thing. You know, you're just multitasking when you're doing an audiobook.
I'm going to remember it a lot more if I'm doing it while I'm driving, because it's one of the few times, like, I can't sit there and read because I don't have, which is really terrible because I'm a writer and I don't read anymore, which does have an impact on your writing. But and even when I do, see, I shouldn't say that. I read constantly, but I'm reading at work. I'm reading on the toilet. I'm not reading at home. Once I'm home, because I have little kids, I don't have time for that. And then when I am, like, I have to steal time to do this show.
Right.
You know, if I sit down and start reading, I'm going to fall asleep. There's no.
And the thing is, for me, is because of like having the family and always like having to do this, that, and the other thing, my mind is like so much thinking about that stuff that even when I do read, I can't fucking concentrate on. I'm sitting there reading and I'm just like,
yeah, you got to read the same page 3 times.
Yeah, starting to skip lines and stuff, and then I realized, I don't know. Same thing happens even with the audiobooks. I was hoping to get more out of it with them, but I'd be driving, then I realized I have no idea what they've just said for the last 2 minutes straight, and have to rewind and listen to it again because I'm unable to focus on one thing at a time anymore.
Yeah, I have a lot of that too. Like, you know, well, you know that Scotty and I, you know, we write together, so we have published a few books together. We're business partners. We haven't put out, like, it's been 2 years now since we put the last book out again. You know, and
writing that one story and giving you the thing, and that was in like May. I'm like, fuck, dude.
Exactly, and it is it for me, right? I had the biggest problem for me, like the last book that we put out, the Beer Whisperer, right? I wrote 8 of those stories in 2 months, 3 months. Was it, Scotty?
It wasn't a long, no, because we gave ourselves a deadline because we wanted to be able to do them quarterly.
Yeah, right. We wanted to do them quarterly, and we pretty much did that in a quarterly. We pretty much did that soup to nuts in about 3 months.
Like, that was my record for doing 2 of them.
Yeah, well, I think I did like 7.
Yeah, you did the bulk.
But the thing is that I have to see the story. If I see the story, right, and that's the thing. Once I see the story, I can just pump them out. You know, it's one of the things and that's a strength of mine. It's one of the things I worry about when I'm not doing it, because that's my strength. It's just to be like, you know, but I haven't been able to see the story. And it's because, like Scott said, because you're doing so much, there's so many things you have to do that, and you forget half of those. You get yelled at by your wife because you didn't take care of 6 of them.
Yeah, even though you got the other 18.
Exactly. Right. Right. But you're just so into, you know, like, even when you have the time to just not have to think about it, you're not thinking about it. You need that not thinking about it.
It's really funny you say that, because I just was listening to this podcast about somebody who's you'd like her. She's a pro writer, and she basically started when we sort of started, and because she actually gets to do it full time, like, so for like 10 years, she's been doing this podcast and writing books, and has gotten a few of them published. She actually just landed the deal to write the novelized version of the Solo movie. The first do that. And I'm like, oh my God, I knew her when, you know, kind of deal. And she was saying, like, one of the things that happens is that, and then even if you have some downtime, you like look at your phone, you need to be bored. You have to mind wander to get that creative stuff going. And we don't have time to be bored anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, literally, yeah. Because it's when you're bored that you start thinking about wacky shit and fucking, you know. Although it's funny though, because Scotty and I yesterday probably came up with an entire story in about fucking 20 minutes.
By accident. Like, we didn't even try it.
Right. It was just like randomly bullshit.
I'm here and go into my bedroom with the laptop and start typing that shit out.
Yeah.
Because that got me excited.
we have a bunch. We came up with a good solid story in there. And I don't know how to fucking happen. It just came together.
Well, I mentioned one thing, and then oh yeah, here's a cool thing about that, and then like it just went back and forth from there until we realized we were actually.
Now there's one that tells me that we're kind of coming out of it. You know, that tells me that we're kind of coming out to the other side, because when that can happen, you know, the other thing that tells me is that can happen. You know what I mean? Like, and like specifically like writers' rooms. When you watch The Walking Dead, right? It's not fucking one guy. It's 10 fucking dudes sitting in a room doing exactly that.
In a room. Yeah.
Right. They're in a room together. They're not doing much more than what we're doing here, you know. But they have specifically focused on what they are, you know, what they want to do. And we've talked about this. We've talked about, aside from this show, because the purpose of this show is like the advertising arm for whatever we all want to do. Yeah. You get a guest on, whatever else, even though we haven't gotten any guests on. That's my fault for not even attempting, really.
Well, you're doing a bunch. Like we could probably. I was actually wondering about that because I know a couple people who do like voiceover type stuff, but I didn't know if they'd want to be on this show because we are a particular. They're females.
Oh, and yeah. And we have an all male audience.
It really kind of is that way, and they may not want to talk to, like, you know, what's her face who's done some voice acting stuff is you know, the Asian person or whatever, and like some generic thing.
Right.
So I don't know.
For me, I'll talk to anybody who wants to talk about anything, wants to talk about their stuff or talk about what their expertise at, especially in the creative field. And as long as they can handle what we talk about.
Right. That's the thing.
Right. If they can handle us, not the other way around, because we can handle anybody. We're assholes.
That's exactly. Zero. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go record a show. And they're like, oh, you do the show? I'm like, yeah, you probably don't want to see it unless you don't really care about some pretty like hardcore. And I think I gave them some examples. We were talking about like freaking penis mine or whatever the hell that was. Dick mine, or I don't know, like crazy.
Cock miner. Yeah, they call it cock mining. Yeah.
Okay. You know, that's the kind of stuff we talk about. So
there's a couple of things on that. First is that it's hard. We're in like in a middle zone. Like people in that either go big or go home. They either, you know, they don't touch it at all. They don't go into that avenue, or they double down on it, and that's their shtick. That's why they're getting the publicity, is because that's what they do. For me, I'm kind of caught in the middle because, you know, it's who I am. It's my personality. It's what's going to happen if I'm being natural. But at the same time, though, I kind of fucking feel weird telling people about it. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, watch the show, because it can get you fired from your job talking about stuff nowadays, you know? You know, so it makes it difficult. So it's how do you advertise? And I had the same problem with VPI. The first book, it has some editing issues that we got to work out, you know, but it's a solid story. It's as good as anything in that kind of genre, right? But it's hard when you fucking have Roberto Vega as your main character, and everything you could possibly say that would be offensive to women, he says it. Yeah. In this book too.
I remember I mentioned a couple of them. Like, you got to change this. I mean, because it's one thing to talk about him like fucking this chick and like not having any respect for her, but there was some graphic detail in there that said, I think that takes it over the edge for trying to get here. To, you know, so and the thing is you don't always know where that line is, and over time that line changes. Right?
Yeah, right.
What's appropriate 10 years ago may not be appropriate now.
And the thing is, it is like lightning in a bottle, because fucking you, like, how many guys are out there that are the guy that is that offensive, and that's why they're big.
Yeah, they make it look easy, but there's not a lot.
They're right. There's not a lot, but it's your particular tone of doing it catches the right people at the right time, and they are buoyed by it at that point. And then once you, like Howard Stern, once you're known for it, well, that's what you're known for.
Right. Yeah, then you're an asshole for going on the show, knowing fully well that that's what he's known for.
Exactly. So, like, how'd you think this wasn't going to happen like that? Right. How'd you not see it coming? It's like getting hit by a bus. How the fuck did you not see that coming? It's a bus. Look at the size of the fucking
Absolutely.
you know, whether you realize it or not, we have our show.
No, yeah, I realize it.
Yeah, I started recording a while ago, you know, and okay, we have no intro tonight. It's Halloween, where nobody gets that far anyway. Just pass the intro. Yeah, but why go into anything else? I went off on another tangent before, but we're talking about the writers' room, right?
Yeah.
We had talked about doing specifically that, where once every other week, get a bunch of people together and went over storyline stuff, and then you just come up with your fucking universe, and then just people do their part, and then every 2 weeks you meet. Okay, where you just go over stuff. Where are we at? Let's do this. And then you plot out the entire fucking storyline. You could write some of it in between, but you plot out the entire, not just one story. You could plot out 5 fucking storylines and know exactly where you can go.
Yeah, they've got that because they've got to interact.
Yeah,
there's got to be some crossover. I mean, Marvel's been brilliant at doing that.
And it's this is actually okay to get into this with this show, because I was going to save it for the other show we were talking about, where we were going to talk about the things that inspire us. But we could talk about this here. Marvel specifically, like what they've done, they have 21 movies out right now. In the last 10 years, they've come out with 21 movies in the last 10 years. They have like 3 more scheduled. And my son, who's 2 years old, knows the name of every single one of those characters. Every single one of them. He's 2. He knows who every single one of them are.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah. And that's from the movies. That's not from reading comic books.
Right. It's bigger than the comics now, so.
Yeah.
No.
You know what they did, and you know, I remember when there are articles about when they came out with the Iron Man. The Marvel went to the B team, and they did, because Iron Man was not as, you know, he's in a lot of shit, but he wasn't like what the movies make Iron Man to be.
Right.
You know, never in the comics was he what the movies are making Iron Man to be. But the way that they built this world from the one-shot movies, like Ant-Man is an okay movie. The first Ant-Man is an okay movie. I mean, most of Phase 1, Captain America 1, Thor 1, they're okay.
Yeah.
You know? But piece by piece, they built this entire fucking thing that individually, now that you have a couple like Winter Soldier's fucking phenomenal. That movie's fucking great. You know? Venom just came out. It's okay. It's all right. It's you know. But then Avengers, this last one, what was that, Scotty?
Worth seeing, because we were sort of excited about it, and then it seemed like it didn't get good reviews. It's character.
I don't know. It's hard to say, because it was a very cookie cutter story. It was very much like the very simple, basic. Okay, this is the guy. This is his love interest. He's a dick. He loses his love interest. You know, and then an enemy shows up, and this misfit has to save everybody. Very vanilla. No stuff that no twists. No, it's not even sophisticated. There's no sophisticated storyline. You know, and then
it's probably geared for kids, right?
What happened?
It's probably geared for kids then, right?
No, absolutely not. Dude, yeah, no, there's a lot of violence. It's very violent. But
I was just thinking because of the simple story, but
you know, the thing is, like, I grew up watching 80s movies, and they're all simple stories. There's no twists. There's no sophistication in that shit. It wasn't until they're even shocked today, like Game of Thrones, right? When we were growing up in the 80s, the sitcoms, you know, they had the recurring characters that you knew who they were, but it wasn't like a continual storyline.
You can watch any one of them in any order.
Right, in any order. Right, it wouldn't make a difference. It's not like, you know, it's a relatively recent phenomenon where they're just realizing that people have the attention span to watch 7 seasons of a show with all these multiple characters moving in and out and everything, and waiting 6 episodes to get the conclusion of one story arc.
Right.
You know, like they never thought the people would do that. Everything had to wrap up in that hour.
Yeah, I'm still that way.
Huh.
I'm like, seasonal arcs, fuck that.
But if you're a writer, though,
Arcs, fuck that.
if you're a writer, though, that's where the money is, though, because it's not one individual story. You know, one individual story is not going to do any good. You have to have reasons for people to continue to go back and read the stories that you wrote before.
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, like anytime I hear about there's this book out, it's part of a series.
Yeah.
Right.
It's got to be, because, and the other thing is the George Lucas, you know, Star Wars. They didn't make money on the fucking movies. They made the money on the toys.
Right. Yeah, they made a lot of money on toys. Yeah.
This freaking monster is part of a series. It's one book.
How was
Look
it
at this.
really?
Huh?
Yeah. How many pages is that?
It's like 1,000 pages, that thing.
That thing about killed my phone when I downloaded the audio version of it. 1,252 pages.
There is, there's a guy named what the fuck, Terry Goodkind is his name, and he writes something called the Sword of Truth series, and the first book, Wizard's First Rule, is like 1,500 pages, and then the second one, Blood of the Stone, I think is like 1,200, but then he starts going like he lowers them down to like 800 after that. But
yeah, from what I heard, that like nowadays, you know, it's considered a novel at what, like 40,000 pages?
40,000 pages. Yeah, 40,000 words. 40,000 words, not 40,000 pages. It was a 40,000 page book. You just
but they're saying you're never going to sell anything at that size. It's got to be like 80,000 words.
And people aren't going to read it. They don't have the attention spans.
Huh?
They don't. Right. The people aren't going to read it. They don't have the attention span. And the truth of the matter is, you're costing yourself money.
No, I mean, it's got to be more than that.
What, 80,000?
It's got to be like 80. The 40 to 60 range is dead. People don't want that. It's either got to be less novella, like 35 or whatever, or it's got to be like 80,000.
What? Tracy Hickman. He wrote he is a co-writer on the Dragonlance series, right? He told me at an awesome dude, man, awesome guy. He told me at a Comic-Con that what people really want are what they call what the fuck was it he called them? They something like they're travel books. They want something that
I even said that's what we should. How should we market ours?
Yeah, they want something they can get on the plane and finish it by the time they were off the plane.
Right.
You know, so you're looking at 25,000 words. You know, which is probably about 100 pages.
What happened?
I don't know, because it seems like I lost everybody. Either I'm that interesting, or there's a technical problem.
The way that you finished that sentence didn't seem like the sentence was over.
Maybe
it's not like you had more thoughts that were supposed to be part of it. So I was waiting for the next part.
that tends to happen.
For the next of the series,
right? But yeah, I mean, but like 25,000 words. That's a long short.
Yeah, novella, not quite a novella, but yeah, like a long short.
Yeah, but that's what it is. That's what people want nowadays. Or you have to go crazy. But if you have 1,500 pages, you know how many books you can put out 1,500 pages? That's 5 fucking books.
Really? I mean, it's ridiculous. I remember reading that thing. I'm like, my God, I just want to get to the end. Nice story and all, but holy shit.
Right? Like every story, every book you read has a certain section, right? Where you're like where you're like struggling to get through it. There's certain parts of every story that you're just struggling. For Walt's purposes, that's like having 3 songs in the middle that suck on an 8-track.
Filler songs.
You know, right? And they're all ballads. They're all like 12-minute ballads. But like 1,500 pages. 1,500. Like, first of all, what the fuck do you have to say that's fucking 1,500 pages long?
Right. And that was the thing. I liked this thing and all, but there was a lot that could have just been not included.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, though, you could say the same thing about Stephen King. I
never read any of his stuff.
I don't need 4 pages describing every single thing on the dinner table. Where all I need to know is there's a dinner table.
Right. Yeah.
That's probably why I was never a fan.
Yeah, I tend to think that he's pretty overrated.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Incredibly descriptive, but you know, it's I guess I get that from movies. You know, you're watching a movie, you have a lot of illusion. You know, you have to set something up. So you show the fucking matchbook,
right?
Because that matchbook is going to be important. Fucking, you know, at the end. Right. So visual storytelling is different than prose, because prose you can really get deep into the psychological reasons why things happen. With a visual storytelling, you have to fucking convey that with a picture and in a quick scene.
The epitome show.
What was that?
The epitome, like show don't tell. Like the movie is the epitome of the show portion of it.
Right. So for me, and because I grew up watching movies, not reading, I fucking didn't read until like fucking high school. Until the end of high school, like, you know, like my senior year. I didn't read shit. Well, I gave Walt books and he fucking gave them back and the fucking broken the bind for the first time. Yeah, that's true. Well, I would give Walt my stuff to give to the teacher because, you know, let Walt get yelled at for me.
So Resnick,
horrible.
who, by the way, looked like Stephen King. You see how we go full circle. He looked like
he actually talked like him too. You ever see like Stephen King's like a Muppet? You know, what was that? You could pick up a book at the library. And he talks like that, Stephen King, which is, I guess, why he writes. Resnick looked and sounded just like him. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah. You're pretty much saying, hey, you've got the personality for writing.
Yeah.
Kind of like having the face for radio kind of thing.
Right.
But I tend to think that, you know, like, you know, because the visual part, you can't go into like all the details about something that's on a dinner table. You just, it's not something you could do.
Right.
And if you want that,
the camera came in and like focused in on a plate and showed you a fork and made sure you could see the artwork on it and the meticulous craftsmanship, and took 5 minutes of just showing you stuff sitting on a table, you'd freaking turn it off.
And then it had nothing to do with the story.
Right. What was the thing they said? Like, yeah, if you show that matchbook, it better be relevant later on, or people are going to be pissed.
Right, exactly.
Because they're going to retain that in their head. Okay, they showed the matchbook. There's a reason for that. I got to remember that.
Right. Otherwise, you're right. Otherwise, you'll be fucking bothering you 3 months later. You'd wake up in the middle of the night like, what the fuck? Why was that fucking matchbook in there?
Well, that's how you get strokes. That is the root of getting a stroke.
You know, but and those things, they, you know, bad editing is when you notice those things.
Yeah.
So like, and I guess it's the same thing, bad editing with writing. I guess it's the same thing. I don't know. But, you know, in a 1,500-page book, now imagine like you had 5 dudes that came on a podcast twice a week and just bullshit their stuff. How many stories would 1,500 pages get you? You could do 15 of them, 1,500-page stories.
Oh, so yeah, like if you made them like short versions, yeah.
Yeah. And you just you know, every 2 you'd be putting one out a month.
Yeah. I could never imagine doing all that. But man, there are some people that I mean, because I guess George R.R. is the same, right? His books are long, right? I read but I don't remember how many pages it was. It was on a Kindle.
His books are long, right? But you've read them, right?
I read the first one.
It's funny because it's really not good writing.
Well, I was telling Jen that, like, it was like, I mean, like, it's not bad, but it was very interesting.
It's very rudimentary. It's very like it's like written for junior high school people. It's written for like early high school, you know. that's like the reading level that it's at. Where it gets interesting is how he builds out the world, how he has all these history behind every, like he'll go into the suits of armor, like the crests and the coat of arms of all of these houses and everything that have nothing to do with anything. The problem though is that he, maybe he intends to go back to them because he has this rich history of this world built out, but he never goes back to most of it. Most of it is irrelevant. And then people are like, oh, he's such a great writer. And you're like,
well, the way I seen it now, granted, I'd only read the first one, so like some of the irrelevant stuff I may not have gotten to, but I think it's a well put together story. The way that, and I could be tainted because I've watched the TV show and I'm like, oh, I remember this. There's tie-ins to it, and so I could be biased just because I like the TV series. But it seemed to be a well put together story. Like these things are fitting, knowing that what he was going to do later on. He nicely planned.
If you look right, so that's another thing about that series too. Those came out, like the first one came out like 96, right? The guy goes like 5 years in between writing them. It takes him like 5 years to write each one of them, something like that. So
that's why they split off on the TV show. We're like, we can't wait for you anymore.
Right, and that's right. That's exactly what happened. They're what are they? They're coming up to season 8. Is it?
Yeah, the like final one. It's either 8 or because 7 is how many they've done so far.
And what did he write? He just came out with the 5th book a year ago.
Yeah, I think it was midway in the series on the TV series that they just split and started doing their own thing.
Yeah, so like he has everything planned out, but he's taking his sweet ass time doing it. Now, I say that because in our last book, which was like 100 pages, came out 2 years ago. But he does it professionally. Like that's what he does. Yeah. He won awards and shit like that when he wrote the first one.
Yeah, he to do it full time, man. If we could do full time, if I could just sit here during the day in a quiet house all day long and just fucking write.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the whole podcast thing, I would have an office where I had this set up all the time, and like you'd come in and you'd have your bullshitting stuff,
yeah,
and then you'd mute when you felt like writing something, you'd mute everybody so you didn't hear them, and they wouldn't distract you. You'd just go to work.
Yeah, well, let's do that.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Walt, what do you think about Walt?
Well, I got a question for you guys. Talking about the books versus a series and the whole thing, and how the series went past where the books initially were from that point on. What do you consider canon at that point? Is there anything that's canon at that point? Is the TV where the TV show took it now canon, and now the writer is compromised, or is it always the writer?
I know that is a really good question.
It's a good question, but the thing is that he has been a consultant on the show probably since the beginning. Even the ones he wasn't writing, they still ask him about things. It's a good question. I mean, canon is the books before the movies came out. Right. Everything else after that, I don't think either one of them winds up qualifying for it. I don't think that it is. It's just I don't think either one qualifies. It would stand to reason though that the episodes that were beyond what he wrote, that he also consulted on,
right,
it has to be, that it has to extend to that.
Right.
But that's a good question. Fuck, I don't know. Scotty, what do you think?
I wrestle with that sometimes because usually the production places are the ones that sort of like when you take Marvel, for example, they say, these other Hawk movies and these other movies, they are not canon. The ones that we've done in this Avengers arc, that is canon.
Right. They pick right.
They died and they're dead and they're gone. They're gone.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, yeah, that's a good point. I guess it would probably be up to Martin.
Yeah. And when Disney bought Star Wars, some of the stuff that was canon was then changed to not be.
Well, yeah, fucking Lucas did that to himself, though. Lucas is a real asshole. Like, No, seriously, like because as I remember it, right, and I read a lot of those fucking books, right. As I remember it, he would not let you release a Star Wars book unless he personally proved it, which meant everything that was written is in the Star Wars universe was canon.
Right.
He had to approve it for it to be part of the universe. Otherwise, he wouldn't let you publish it, right? And then he came out with those fucking movies, and they completely contradicted everything. And those other books had continuity, even though it was like 12 different writers writing them.
Right.
But then those movies came out and shit all over everything. So fuck him. You know, they should have changed the canon. Now, of course, now they changed to this last one where they had fucking dropping bombs in space. Yeah.
But but they dropped bombs in what the hell was it? Empire Strikes Back. They were dropping the light things into the asteroids looking for Solo and Leia.
It's true. They were. They did. They did. They never explained that either.
No.
But it's all weak writing. But I give it more of a pass in 1981.
Yeah, you could always say they shot it out because all they're doing was flying, and they could have said, "Oh, they launched it out." These guys in this movie literally were quote unquote bombers.
They were right because you don't know if there was like a projectile that's shooting it just in a downward projectile. You know what I mean?
Right.
The bombs they just dropped them, not realize that they would float wherever they went.
It would float back to the ship.
most likely.
Blow up the ship that it came from.
Very slowly. Like if you just drop bombs in space, it would be like a hard turd with fucking constipation. They squeeze and one falls out.
Also, like in space, like sound doesn't even really travel, right? Sound doesn't travel, right?
Right.
And we're hearing all these explosions and everything, right?
Right. It can't.
So it should really be a
true.
silent movie, like
like even with the TIE fighter sounds and whatnot, it was all BS. And like parsec unit of time was freaking incorrect, and then they doubled down on that in the freaking new movies.
Horrible.
Instead of like trying to find a way to explain it, it's like, come on, the parsec is a unit of time. Can't you tell I was bullshitting people? Like they could have explained that away easily.
Yeah, that's one thing about that. This is something I tell Scotty all the time. You could easily explain almost anything in one sentence. I do it all the time. Like because we edit each other's stuff, right? So like we'll read it and okay, you got to fix this. This doesn't really make sense, or like you write yourself into corners, and Scotty will come up to me, okay, well I don't know how I did that. And I'll be like, all right, just say this. Have him say this. It is.
Yeah.
All the time. Yeah. There's no excuse not to have something that's that important explained because you got one throwaway line that makes it all make perfect sense.
Right.
It's just lazy not doing that.
Yeah, actually, apropos of nothing, Walt, are you going to do the intro song, the bear? Record that for us.
It's true. He should.
Bam, and then just put the logo and then go right into it.
Yeah.
I mean, we have one fucking music guy.
Best thing that we have a music guy when our intro is bear.
It's true.
Because that's the goal. The goal was to make the shortest intro ever,
No, I think it's a good thing. We've been doing that fucking intro for friggin' over a year now. Like, a year and like 3 months. And people aren't getting past 3.5 minutes of the show.
Right.
You could say it's probably not working.
Right. Maybe it's
go ahead.
Time to start doing something else, right?
Yeah, the other thing too is like even the way that I read the headlines, If you just did that, and hey, what's going on, people? And you don't even have to say what's going on, people, and we just start talking.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, but I think I want to bring up the stories matter of factly rather than doing my cheesy fucking spiel on the stories too.
Sure, like you tell it as a story, as like something that you like. Check this out. I read this, and it was saying, the article said this. What do you think about that?
Same as if we were sitting at the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was reading this article the other day. Boom. I heard this on the radio the other day. Whatever. And then you mention where you got it from. So people know that you're not full of shit, right? That it came from somewhere, and then
I don't even know. To be honest with you, I don't even know that I want to do that. And this is it's a couple of reasons. One, I mean, there's probably some legality in. Oh, we lost Scotty. There's probably some legal issues in. There he is.
That was weird.
Yeah, that was weird. There's probably some legal issues in using the headlines as we get them without changing them around, or because and we use a lot of the same sources. But most of what we use is true, right?
Right.
90% of the stories we use are true, and the other 10% are, because of the ones that we do are true. You probably believe them anyway.
Right.
And so, without giving the sources, once a lot of those stories, once I give the source, all right, that's bullshit. You'll know it's bullshit.
Right.
If you leave it sourceless, if you don't source it out, right, and you just, oh yeah, I heard this, right, then it's up to the audience, it's up to whoever else to decide if they want to believe it's true or not.
Right.
I read a story today about a fucking Lake Ronkonkoma is supposedly haunted.
I wouldn't doubt it.
So supposedly, this is crazy, right? Supposedly, there was in like the 1600s, there was a native princess who saw a Englishman on the other side of the lake chopping wood. Like an English settler in the 1600s was by Lake Ronkonkoma chopping wood, and they fell in love with each other. Only her father forbid her from, you can't fuck around with white guys. When you're an animal, you can't fuck around with these white guys. So she pined for him and cried for him for 7 years, and then took a boat out to the middle of the lake and killed herself.
Damn.
But that's something that people fucking did, though, because people did shit like that.
Yeah, it's not like you had social media back then.
Life was fucking miserable for everybody anyway, though. So, they talk about all this romantic stuff. If you're fucking living in the 1600s, the average person, life was a fucking horror show. So killing yourself wasn't a great sacrifice. You just couldn't take it anymore.
Right.
They clung to, you would have to have clung to the fucking smallest things just to fucking keep you going, because everything was miserable. Look, they didn't have fucking toilet water until the fucking 1800s. You've only been able to fucking flush a toilet for 150 fucking years. You know what I mean? So fuck.
Things that I'm thankful for this year.
Like, you think about think about the Constitution. You know what's a miracle about the fucking Constitution, about the Declaration of Independence? In fucking July in Philadelphia, sitting in a hot ass fucking room in hot wool clothes, wearing fucking wigs and wooden teeth. These motherfuckers sat together drunk because they had to be, because the only thing safe to drink was fucking alcohol. So they had to have been drunk, and they were fucking sitting around sweating their nuts off in these fucking wool outfits where they didn't bathe the way that we do now. And man, the fucking
they had outhouses.
The wig was powdered.
What?
That's part of why the wig was powdered.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So you could stand it. You know what I mean? And they sat down there and wrote this fucking thing. Fuck. That's the miracle of that shit. They sat in a room with all these dirty motherfuckers smelling, wearing wool clothes in the middle of the fucking summer.
It's pretty amazing.
Try doing that in your fucking living room. by yourself, you wouldn't fucking be able to stand your own smell.
And with the most excellent penmanship.
Right, right. Writing with a fucking quill, man. Learning with a fucking they ripped something out of a turkey and they're fucking writing on it with it.
Yeah, you know, back then they had actual people. That was their job. Their job was to write things out, write out books, write out. They had to all have this incredible penmanship to, you know, this is, you know, so you'd be able, so it was legible, you know.
And what's crazy about that, you would have had to have been highly educated to be able to do that job.
Yeah. It was a good sought out after job.
That's nuts. Because I mean, the average person wouldn't be able to read and write at that time.
No, because even the shit that they wrote, you then had the guy in the corner reading it out to people. The news was like, you know, hear ye.
Right.
Knowing that such and such and such and such has now occurred.
You know, it's crazy. I mean, what would you put? I'm sure I know that there's a historical fact behind this number, but like, what is the historical number that this is the education rate? And I should know this because I took a course on the history of education in America, but that was 5 years ago, so I don't remember all of it, you know. But I probably wrote a paper on this too. But like, what would you think? 10% of the fucking world was fucking educated at the time?
Not even.
Probably not even, right? Yet, read the Declaration of Independence. How many fuckers now can understand that shit?
Right.
So, like, the 7% of the population that actually was educated was so highly fucking educated that they're smarter based on what they had to work with than we are now. By like, I mean, what is it? Only 30% of the language that Edgar Allan Poe, the English language, what Edgar Allan Poe was writing, only 30% of that language exists today.
Wow.
Yeah, people they're 70% stupider than they were in the 1840s.
What does that mean that 70% of the language doesn't exist?
Like 70% of the words that were if you think about the vocabulary and just the words that were used, 70% of them don't exist in the English language.
And stuff like that.
Right, exactly.
Words probably morphed into other words, you know, and like maybe abbreviations became the accepted term or something.
Instead of regardless, it became irregardless.
Regardless is still not a word.
But it is. It's in the dictionary. Irregardless is not a word.
That's in the dictionary?
Yeah. That was like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
Isn't ain't in the dictionary now, or am I
ain't is in the dictionary now?
Oh my god.
Yeah, ain't is in the dictionary. Yeah. So like
it wasn't when we were kids, by the way. That was not a word.
That was also a couple years ago.
That was not a word. Yeah.
But that's exactly my point. And if you look at how people text now, right? Look at Facebook. I don't know if you guys have any friends that aren't exactly of the smartest caliber, but I know a lot of people that they spell everything with a K. If it has a hard sound, it's spelled with a K.
So like cat,
like cat with a K. Yeah, like everything. Yeah, like I mean, like fucking, like what the fuck, and
these are the guys that I just know because I've read some of the stuff that like goes on in your profiles when you have arguments with people.
Yeah, when I get into
exactly who these people are that you're talking about.
You know, yeah, you've seen it. And it's like, whoa, what the fuck, really? Now that only shows you what a fucking jackass I am, because I'm arguing with these people. As if there's an argument to make, as if they can understand what the fuck I'm talking about.
Right.
You know,
I don't even bother. But like when I know that you're in an argument with somebody, I go get the popcorn because I know it's going to be good.
Oh,
so, and I try to read some of it, unless I was unfriended.
I have yeah, right, exactly. Oh god, you're the last one.
You got to send me some of that stuff.
Yeah,
Just,
I
just
because
for the laugh. Just for the
I'm
laugh.
not going to talk about the things that I argue about. I'm not going to talk about the
No,
subject
no,
matter.
yeah, of course not. Yeah.
All I'm saying is my uncle used to tell me when I was a kid, the same uncle that I was with when we saw the ugliest woman in the world, who was pregnant. He always used to tell me, he always used to say, you can't argue with an idiot because they drag you down to their level and they beat you with experience.
Right, right. That's so
And
true.
it really is true because like you get just the circular arguments. You like a fact is a fact. Whatever this fact is, it's what it is. But you like people don't even accept widely accepted facts anymore. There's no such thing as a widely accepted fact anymore. Like you could have a statistics that it doesn't mean anything either way. This is just what the numbers are. And it will just it'll be as if it didn't happen. Like it's not there. Like it's all fantasy land.
Right,
And it
right,
doesn't matter what you're talking about. Like there's this level of stupidity where you're stupid on purpose. And you don't know that you're stupid on purpose.
right. So maybe that's like ignorance, right?
I don't know because psychologically like what serial killers do is they gaslight. They gaslight what when did that happen? That didn't happen. That's not what happened. What are you crazy? And then they make you think only they're doing it on purpose. They know that it happened, but they're trying to make you doubt yourself, right? And then the self-doubt creeps in, and then you're not sure about what you're sure about. And then and once you're not sure about what you're sure about, they can convince you of anything. They can brainwash you, they can get anything in there because you're not sure. So it could be true. You doubt yourself. So you'll take suggestions from somebody who's positive of it. You know what I mean? But this is almost like gaslighting yourself. It's like like you know so little, right? That you've convinced yourself that you're right. And then you know so little that you contradict everything that you yourself say.
Right.
But are not smart enough to follow the chain to realize that you contradicted everything that you said.
Right.
It's I don't even know what I just said.
And, and many times like they'll make the opposing argument for you,
Right.
They'll
tell you exactly what you just said.
Yeah, exactly. And it's your own argument that you to defeat them, so
and you're like, oh, thanks, you proved my point. What? No, I never said that. And it's just so bizarre. It's bizarre. It's strange. And I'm trying to write books. I'm trying to make a living writing books. And these are the people. This is them.
Yeah. They're the ones that don't understand what 7 years ago means.
And I'm getting I don't understand why I'm not selling books. But then I realize
I don't think you're writing. I don't think those people are reading books.
I think the problem is that I'm writing for people that don't read books.
I'm watching Netflix,
It's the same thing as me arguing with these people because, like, what am I arguing with? What am I doing? It's like kicking myself in the nuts. and like you get into a Facebook argument or Twitter's the worst. Twitter, you get into a Twitter argument. Oh God, it might not ever end because like 3 days later, some random fuckface is making a comment, and you're like, "What the fuck? I thought this was done already."
Yeah. And they're looking to end you in some way or another. They're looking to like ruin your career. It's horrible.
A nice thing that they do on Twitter. I don't know about how much you guys are in. It's why you can't say fucking shit on Twitter. You can't get into a Twitter argument. If we are trying to do something, you can't get into a Twitter argument because what they do, some random person that nobody knows, they will retweet with your tweet on there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it'll show your name and what you said, and it'll be and their comment to it, right? So it's a weird thing because it takes a snapshot. It takes something that you said completely out of context of a large chain of conversation, right? And it's one line that's taken out of context. and then they're throwing their reply to the one line they're taking out of context because they've got a zinger for that. And it's always something that makes you look just like, that could be used in the PC culture, which 80% of America hates PC culture, by the way.
Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, Harvard did a study. But it will be something that you can get excoriated for, something you can just get destroyed for. And they're the clever ones that had a clever comeback to your line, even though it was completely taken out of context. But one line out of like fucking 800 tweets, Bad news, man. Don't get into fucking Twitter fucking fights, man. Don't do it.
I never have. I've avoided it like the plague.
Yeah.
I read other people's fights, though, man. I'm constantly reading other people's arguments, though, but
yeah.
Never my own. Never my own.
I don't know. I read my own comments. I can't help it. I edit my own comments afterwards.
Oh, on Twitter?
Well, you can't on Twitter, although I will analyze if I should have said it at all, and I might delete it.
Right.
But you can't even do that, though. People are saving your tweets. They're saving them. So if you delete it, it doesn't matter. They've already got it.
And when you're like a celebrity or whatever, there's something called a Wayback Machine. So they have all your old shit from like archived.
Really? That's the company doing it.
That's like it's like a company doing it, but they do it for everybody who's like, famous, or anybody who's in the in the journalism world and that kind of thing. You know that woman Joanne Reed? Like she's like on MSNBC or whatever. She got in trouble for saying certain things, and I don't want to get into that whole thing, but like she got in trouble a few months back because she said she didn't do a certain thing, and then they somebody from using this thing called the Wayback Machine, this site, found all these old tweets and old Facebook posts or whatever it was, and said, "No, you're wrong. You said this." And then she said she got hacked. That was that. Wow. She ended up making the whole thing up.
I didn't get hacked. I'm just an asshole.
So that's funny. I'm just using the Wayback Machine to look at our company's website to see what it was like, 6 years ago.
I wish. It probably wouldn't be as cool as it is right now, but I haven't even updated that in 3 years. Oh God, it's terrible.
Go to the Wayback Machine and put your domain in there. You should be able to see something.
It's true. I wonder. I do wonder if Zuckerberg has all that shit for everybody. He probably does.
I'm sure he does.
Yeah.
And we've all been indexed. And
oh yeah, man. Everything you ever do. That's why you're better off just double down. Yeah. I did that. I did do that.
Is that you don't even have to be on Facebook for them to have a profile on you because they have other people talking about you.
It's true. Yeah, it's so weird, man.
Yeah. And you ever notice that when something happens, when something goes down, and somebody gets caught saying something, whatever it was, and the person doesn't double down, like the person apologizes, it seems like it doesn't do any good.
No,
once you apologize, they all they stampede you, So you're like so you can judge it.
The thing is,
double down.
What's crazy? This is what's crazy. Because the news cycle changes so quickly. Everybody's outraged today, and then tomorrow they're outraged about something completely different, and you just don't even hear about whatever the first thing was that outraged them for. That's how crazy it is. Yeah. So like, you'll say something, right, and the outraged will fucking destroy you for a day. Your entire career will be over. Right. You'll be destroyed in a day. Right. But then the next day after they've destroyed you, nobody ever remembers it, like it never happened.
Right.
So it's like it's like a storm of locusts fucking coming in and fucking eating everything, and it's fucking just gone as if it was never there. And then they're on to the next fucking thing. So it's pretty fucking brutal, man.
It is brutal.
And it's not the first time I heard about the Twitter being particularly the one that can be career ending, because people apparently love to latch on to stuff from there, because I think you've got limited space to write. So somebody posting something with those 140 characters, you have to sort of what's the word for it? Like you have to reduce your descriptions of it, and you're supposed to derive from context. Well,
Yeah.
people, trolls, can take on that and make it appear to be something else.
It's just so easy to do it because you do. I mean, the way that it is, it's kind of think about Slack, right? You know how Slack it comes in as a whole conversation, right? But it's but you could save certain comments or star certain comments, and it's only the one comment when you bring it up, right? This is in that format, but you're not seeing it. It doesn't come up as the whole thing. It's like a text at a time. So, yeah, it's designed so that you have to reply to the, I don't know, that screen. It's essentially like it's so fucked up. It is screenshot. It's a simple screenshot where you can't explain enough, so that it's made to pull things out of context.
Right.
I wonder if they did it on purpose. I wonder if because all these things are social experiments anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. You never know what the true motivations are,
right? They could be sociopaths.
Yeah.
Oh, they are sociopaths for sure. Who's that guy that was Napster? The Napster guy that ended up investing in Facebook. You know the guy I'm talking about?
Justin Timberlake played him in the movie.
Right. And he wasn't he the guy that said that like the whole thing with Facebook was an experiment to get you addicted?
Well, it is. It is because they use what they call positive feedback loops to get you, and that's what it is with how they get you addicted. And essentially,
he went right out and said it, right?
He came out. Well, they came out and said it like recently, though. That was within the last couple of years.
Right?
Yeah, it was something like a year ago, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, whatever it was. Within the last 2 years, that's where that came out. That it was, but it wasn't him that said it. It was somebody else. It was like the CEO at the time or something like that.
Right.
But it is specifically because those positive feedback loops, and that's how you get addicted. That's how addicts get addicted to alcohol and drugs, because you get an instant dopamine release.
Yeah, the dopamine. Yep.
And then so you think because you got that instant dopamine release is that's something that's good for you. You get a positive feel out of it. So then you, just like Pavlov's dog drool, and you think, oh yeah, I got that, I gotta like that instant dopamine release. So then you're constantly, you more and more and more, the more you get it, the more you need it. Just like cocaine. The more you get that dopamine release, the more you need that dopamine release. So if you're not getting likes, I'm not getting likes. I gotta kill myself now.
So weird, man, because I'll tell you what, man, Facebook does not release my dopamine. I'm almost never on there. I really couldn't care less.
Yeah, the thing is one, you might not have an addictive personality. Two,
I'm pretty sure I do.
You whatever it is about that, most people want to be accepted by the tribe. Most people, it's specifically, it's the hierarchy of whatever their chosen tribe is that they are trying to climb. Most people also don't want to have to put in actual work to be able to climb that hierarchy. They want to just show up and be thought of as the fucking, as the life of the party, and everybody raises them on their shoulders and carries them out like they just won the Super Bowl. That's what people want, right? And it's the same thing as the high school popularity contest. Facebook is the high school popularity contest. The movie said that's what it is. You want to be liked and be popular and have everybody, want you as part of the group. For you, you might not care about that. It might be you're more focused on you could have like me. I have accomplishment based self-esteem. It doesn't really matter if you tell me that I'm good or not. Okay. If I'm not doing things, if I'm not accomplishing things, then I'm saying I'm shit no matter what you tell me.
Right.
But if I'm doing things and I'm getting things done, I don't care if you tell me they're not good. Fuck you. Look what I did. Right. Look what I did. Fuck you. So you could be somebody that's just, you're focused on something that's completely fucking different than that. So you could
substitute.
Right, because your values are placed in something else.
Right.
But most of the world, that's not the case. Most of because and that's a survival thing, because the more you're recognized as by your tribe as somebody who has value, the more you're protected by that tribe, and the more they think that you're necessary, and the more you get from them, from the people within the tribe, the more they cooperate with you within the tribe.
That's right. That's why the beer whisperer back in the pre-civilization days was so revered.
Yeah,
He got lots of pussy.
Besides the fact that you couldn't drink the water, so if you wanted to live, you had to fucking,
Well, that was where the magic came from. We drink the stuff, we don't freaking get diarrhea.
Yep. And you might even plow that pig over there.
Actually, I bring that up because it was actually a story thing I was thinking about, like a pre-civilization story that would be basically the same guy as the beer whisperer, but here he is in like freaking caveman times, basically.
Basically, there's a reason why shamans have the high place that they do.
Right.
And it's probably exactly that. They're the beer.
Effectively, that's what his character was going to be. He was the shaman, but what he was doing was making beer.
Beer literally saved the world.
He didn't get sick, huh?
Beer literally saved the world.
Yeah, it's the truth. And we probably wouldn't be where we're at as a civilization were it not for that. They could not have progressed past freaking dysentery and shit.
No, it's the only thing that kept, because they didn't know anything about bacteria.
Right.
But by baking beer, they were naturally fucking, and it was also the starvation rates. Beer was something you could drink and get nutrition out of.
Yeah.
It's like room temperature soup.
Yeah, it was different back then than what it is now, but it was still, that was the great granddaddy of modern beer. Yeah, the Sumerians were like writing songs and shit to it. They found on tablets,
not
like
many
tavern
things,
song.
Not many things have had songs written about them since basically for 6,000 years. Women and beer.
Yeah.
And usually you're either you're drinking beer because of women.
or you want the women to drink beer.
Yeah, well, that's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes, we're not all lucky enough to be as good looking as you, Scotty. We got to convince the ladies in other ways.
That always struck me about ladies. I was like, you're literally saying, ladies, come in here and drink. That way we hope that you get so drunk that we can take you home and fuck you. But that is effectively the contract of ladies' night.
But well, it's true. But we have to think about it this in other terms, though. At least like the Sumerians, this is legitimately a step up from not getting clubbed in the head and dragged to the cave.
That's true.
So
it wasn't.
That's civilized.
It's a step above, that's for sure.
Yeah. That's an evolutionary step. That's like a fucking mutation.
Right.
It's a great leap forward.
I got to factor that into the story.
Come on, ladies. You think this is bad, but how many of you didn't live when I crack your head open?
Right. Grom, turn over new leaf. Here, drink this, and I won't whack you in head.
That's how the blowjob was invented. That's how the blowjob was invented. Drink this. I won't crack you over your head.
Drink right from the tap.
Yeah, Scotty completely missed it. He's not seeing the story.
Yeah, I kind of am now, but at the time it was like, what?
He didn't drink it. It went over his head. Horrible. Anyway, on that note, it's getting late. And once the joke stopped making sense, it's about time to cut it out.
Yeah, we never even said intros like, hi, how you doing and all that. We just sort of wrote. Shit, sorry. It was like a garage night, everybody showed up and we just started freaking talking.
When your computer, something happened where you either left the room or your computer crapped out, and Walt and I were talking about exactly that. It should I think we should move on more to that more. Anyway, just like have that sound with the logo and fucking go right on.
Yeah. I think it's how I originally envisioned it. I liked having the topics and ready to go and making that the thing, but more being about hanging out in the garage and we can have the topics in the background. Just sort of,
I think that's a good idea. Just take it whatever we're talking about. Just take it wherever it goes, and then we have that if just we want to bring it up. Yo, I heard this happen. It's fucking nuts.
Yeah.
You know, and that's it.
What's going to happen is we crank out garbage and we delete it.
Yeah, but I don't think that's going to be a problem now. We've been on enough times, and enough things happen all the time. As long as we're not talking politics or religion, I just too divisive. But anything else, especially like I don't even know what the fuck we talked about tonight.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have a hell of a time writing up the description though.
Yeah, because it was a solid thread, right? Like it's not like we stopped and then started a new subject.
Right.
Beginning to end, it was a solid piece that just organically morphed into whatever it was.
Right. It's like when I take a shit in the morning. It's a solid piece that just fucking wraps around the bowl, and it's just I don't know which way it's gonna go, but
that means you're healthy.
I think a lot of it had to do with like creative processes.
Yeah. It's again, so that's one of those things where as much as we talk about the crazy shit, we're going to have to kind of reconcile that somewhat, because if we want to get creative people on to talk about their creative stuff, we have to do more of a show like this and less of the shit and dick jokes. But at the same time, like for me, most of my books are about the fucking crazy shit that we read all the time.
Right.
Like you could take any fucking, like, I don't know. We have so many different fucking serial shitter. I could write a book about a serial shitter, and it's just fucking 25 different scenes of them shitting different ways and fucking people over, taking shits. And that's essentially like our show. Every episode, we have somebody who took a shit somewhere that they shouldn't have.
Well, I think we've with 40 episodes in, I think the format of this is sort of written. I think if you'd want to change that might have to be a different show. Like if you want it to be more about the creatives and the creative process, and musicians and writers and vloggers or whatever, that might be a different format than what this one in particular.
Well, we have episodes. We have episodes where, like, especially there's episodes when Walt and I are just talking about psychology things. I'm not sure if we did a conspiracy episode. Walt and I into conspiracy theories. I'm not sure if we did a conspiracy episode in this one. Walt and I also had another show, and we did like 6 months of that show, like every single week. So we have like 20 something episodes, almost 30 episodes of that.
Right.
So like I don't remember how many of the ones that we did on this show and how many ones that we did on that show. They always come up. But we have done this type of subject before. It's not all that way all the way through. And shows transition all the time. They change formats. Even on the radio, they change formats as they go, as things work and don't. And they pick up audience members and they just get more comfortable doing that. So I don't mind so much, maybe again, doing like we did, going right into it, having a conversation, and then talking about the stuff too. You hear about this, and except that they're more throwaways in the conversation than what the conversation is.
Right. And they could be used like if whatever the natural conversation, sometimes like everybody be talking, it'll be like really intense and robust, then suddenly it'll just stop.
Right. And you're right. Exactly. You throw one in there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, hey, we can certainly try it out. I like talking about the creativity stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like you said, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's our own evolution too. Like we were talking about evolving before. So this is a way for the show to evolve too.
So I think for a lot of that, like I was saying before, I've talked to Scotty a lot. I talk to Walt a lot, but you guys don't talk a lot. So it's
I guess it's because we don't know each other in real life.
Right, exactly. It's different. Like, and a lot of times for me, it's easier to have the one-on-one shows because I don't try to do as much of the stuff,
Yeah, you directly play off of each other.
Exactly, right? Exactly. I'm not trying to. I'm not showing it up. I'm not hamming it up. I'm not doing any of that. There's no extracurriculars. You're just talking to somebody that you know at that point. So it is a lot easier. Fuck, I forget the fuck I was talking
about. Well, on that note,
yeah. Do you remember what I was saying? I don't know.
You don't have to MC. You don't have to be an MC, and you can just have a one-on-one.
I mean, yeah, it's easier for me to have the one. Now, Thaddeus, on the other hand, like I know Thaddeus since high school, but I've never really done this. He just has done this on the show, so that even that is something to get used to. It's something that I have to do something different. Oh, this was my point. Sometimes where it takes time to get used to everyone, to know them well enough, at least their pacing and the way that they do things and the comfort levels, to be able to have these kind of conversations with them matter of factly, and have enough of those different things that are interesting that you can still talk about. One of the problems that Scotty and I have and Walt and I have is that we've had the same conversation probably already before we've gotten on the show. We've probably already talked, whatever it is, we've probably already talked about it a lot, Yeah. So how do you have that same conversation again and keep it fresh for someone who is listening just now?
Well, I think so far we did a pretty good job of that.
We have. Now the stories have helped us get through a lot of that. As if we didn't have those stories to back up on and we were just sitting in a room looking at each other, would we have as much as talked about? Would we be able to talk about as much as we did to have 40 shows already and then keep on going from there? But after a while, when you get used to each other, you don't need the gimmicks. It's just talking about what the fuck is going on.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway, it's after midnight now, and I got to break this shit down. So I'm going to call that a night. You guys have any last words?
Yep. Thanks for watching.
Last final words. See you next time.
That's it. All right. So, check us out on Facebook, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, Mad TMC, The Garage. Buy our books on Amazon. Meadows Presents. Some entertaining stuff for $3. You can't really go wrong. Anyway, on that note, have a good night, folks. See you next time.